friends, it is hard to believe, but 2023 is almost coming to an end. And before I dive into my series talking about my favorite candles from this past year, I thought it would be a little bit fun to do a little twist on that and let you know what fragrances just were not my cup of tea this year. Now, before I get into talking about each of these candles, I do want to just put this disclaimer out here that scent is subjective. Fragrance is very personal to all of us. And so if I mention a candle here that you absolutely love, I don't want you to quit burning it. In fact, I want you to enjoy it. Just go with it. This topic, home fragrance, this is all in the grand scheme of things, very frivolous and fun, and this is meant to be a fun video. However, I would say that I also feel like this is an important video to make because I know that for me, I follow a lot of content creators here on YouTube over a variety of topics, but I do know that some content creators, I find that we have a lot in common, whether that be our taste in fashion or makeup or home fragrance. And if you tend to like a lot of the same fragrances that I do, maybe I've recommended some fragrances and you've been like, oh yes, I really, really love that one. Maybe this video might help you save a little bit of money, because if I didn't like some of these fragrances and we've kind of had some similar taste, well, then I don't know, maybe you might want to exercise a little bit of caution going forward. That being said, again, this is all fun and frivolous, and if you are still interested in purchasing candles, I would not deter you from trying anything new. Some of them might be available at a good discount or whatnot. That's when I would recommend trying them out. So if you are new to my channel, hi, I'm Katie. I like to talk about home fragrance and a little bit of beauty here. So if that is content that you find yourself wanting to stick around for, please hit that subscribe button, but let's not waste any more time. Let's go ahead and talk about the fragrances that just did not work out for me this year. All right, so I went ahead and I looked back at all of the fragrances that were, that mostly I purchased. A few of these were actually sent to me in PR, and I'm just letting you know, like, yeah, they just didn't really work out for me. I don't recall any of these being purchased in store, and I guess that would make sense because if I'm going in store and I smell something on cold sniff, generally I'm going to like it if I'm going to purchase it. So it was a little bit easier for me to look back and look at my online orders. The candle brands that I am going to be talking about today are HOMEWORX, Kringle, and Bath & Body Works. So I'm going to go ahead and start out with some Bath & Body Works candles that just did not, I was like, nope, these did not work out for me. One of them, to be honest with you, was a surprise to me that I ended up having to take back. Another one was not necessarily one that I absolutely hated, but I did end up decluttering it from my collection. All right, so the first fragrance that when I was looking through my list that I remembered like, oh yeah, I smelled that and I ended up taking it back and exchanging it, was Watermelon and Wild Mint. I feel like that candle came out maybe when I was looking at my orders, I ordered it, I think like in late February, early March, somewhere around there. That was a fragrance that I just didn't really care for the combination. It was a little bit too minty for me, but mixed with the watermelon, it slightly had a sour note, and it just was not for me. I didn't even want to chance lighting it up because at that time I knew that there were some other fragrances in the store that I was really loving, and so I just went ahead and exchanged that one. Another fragrance that was released in the summertime that I thought, looking at the fragrance notes, that I would have really enjoyed was Under the Sun. There was supposed to be like a banana note to it, but I'm telling you, when I got that one in, I was like, this just smells weird. Again, it wasn't like a sweet banana note to me. I'm just even trying to recall what exactly it was that I smelled, but something just smelled off about it, and so that one went back. Another fragrance that I wouldn't necessarily put this in the like I hated it category, but I initially thought that I really liked it, and then when I was burning it, I was just kind of meh about it, and that was one of their mashups, the Black Cherry Merlot and Marshmallow Fireside. I don't know. I know a lot of people really enjoyed that candle, but it just was not the mashup for me. And then here was the surprise of the fall season for me, because this was a candle that I had put in my favorite fall fragrances. Like for years, it's been one of my favorite fall fragrances. Pumpkin Carving I took it back this year. There was something about it this year when I was burning it. I don't know if my nose changed or if they tweaked the formula on that fragrance, but there was something about it that it came off very perfumey. It was not at all what I had remembered it to be. And so that one went back to Bath & Body Works and I exchanged it for another fragrance. So those were the only fragrances from Bath & Body Works that were duds for me. They were the ones that had the least amount of, of candles that I was like, nope, can't do this. All right, let's move on to HOMEWORX. All right, so a couple of fragrances here. We're gonna go ahead and start out with some summertime fragrances. Macadamia Mai Tai. I heard so many people raving about that fragrance, and when I burned it, it was not for me. Again, a lot of these fragrances I'm just going off of memory, like, because I don't have them with me anymore. But Macadamia Mai Tai was very, there was something that smelled off about it. There was a little bit of nuttiness, but it was kind of boozy, which I don't shy away from boozy fragrances. I actually like a good boozy scent, but I think it was like a pineapple note or something mixed with that boozy note. I remembered that one, and then there's another candle, the Pineapple Sprinkle Macaroon. I don't know what it is, but I think that there's something in pineapple fragrances. Sometimes I really enjoy them, but more often they can, if they're not done right, they come off with a little bit of like a cat urine vibe to me. And I remembered both of those candles, I got that fragrance from. Again, that's just my own nose. You may really enjoy those fragrances. In fact, I have a friend in my personal life who loves pineapple fragrances. Like anytime I get a pineapple candle, I'm like, here, you want it? She's like, I love it. I love everything about it. So those two were misses for me. Another fragrance that was released in the springtime, I think it was part of like the, was it like Summer Sips collection or something, was the Rosé All Day. There was something in that fragrance, I think it was maybe like the champagne note that mixed with the berry that kind of came off sour to my nose. I didn't really care for it. So that was one that quickly found its way out of my collection. And then talking about another summertime candle that was really hyped up and everybody was talking about it was Rootbeer Float. Now, that one really intrigued me because I like a good Rootbeer Float. I don't indulge in them very often, but I do like them. And I thought, okay, that's gonna be a great summertime candle. I liked it on cold sniff, but when I burned it, it smelled very medicinal. It like reminded me of walking into the pharmacy when I was a kid, like after I would go to the pediatrician and I needed an antibiotic or something, and it smelled like the pharmacy to me. There was something medicinal about it. And so, yeah, that one, I couldn't. I burned it like twice and I was like, nope, I don't like this candle at all. The funny thing is that I did go ahead and take a chance on another root beer themed candle, which is the Reindeer Beer from Kringle Candle. And to my joyful surprise, I actually really like that fragrance. In fact, I just ordered another one. I already finished a 3-wick of it and I ordered another one because that one to me has a little bit more of a creamy vanilla base to it. It reminds me of like A&W root beer. It's very authentic, but it pairs really nicely with like some like gingerbread fragrances. So if you want a root beer fragrance, I would definitely steer you more towards Kringle than the Root Beer Float from HOMEWORX. And just to be perfectly clear and transparent here, I am an ambassador for both brands. I have an affiliate code with HOMEWORX and Kringle, but that's just me giving my honest opinion. I didn't care for the Root Beer Float. I did like Reindeer Beer. All right, another candle that, again, I tried it, couldn't get past it. It was just cloyingly sweet for me, was an early fall fragrance. It was Honey Glazed Pear. Again, it was a fragrance that there was something about it that was super, super sweet. I think it was the combination of the honey and the pear notes in there. They just did not, my nose did not like that fragrance. I did have that one in my bedroom, and I remembered thinking, because I was burning it in late summer here, which in Arizona, we keep our air conditioning on usually until October because it's hot until that time of year, like hot enough that you need air conditioning on. And I was lamenting that I couldn't even open up my windows to get that smell out. Like it just lingered in my bedroom. The good news is that it did linger for a long time and it was a very strong candle for me, but unfortunately it was just a fragrance that I did not care for. And then here's a fragrance that initially, the first few times that I burned it, I really, really enjoyed it. And then something happened about midway through the burn that I don't know if different fragrance notes started to come out or if my preferences changed. I don't know what happened, but it got to a point where I was like, no, I do not like this. And it was Cardamom and Cotton, which may surprise you because I remember in my candle review of that, I said I actually planned to pick up more. And I'm glad that I didn't because I don't know what happened. There was a different note that started to come out. I think more of that cardamom came out. I think the first half of that burn was a little bit more cotton heavy, like whatever accords they put together, that like cottony fresh fragrance. The cardamom note started to come out a little bit more at the end, and I did not like that at all. It smelled rotten to me. It was not a pleasant fragrance, and so out that one went. Deep dish apple pie, I did have in a 3-wick. That one was sent to me from HOMEWORX. And again, too cloyingly sweet to me. I was hoping more for a crust note in that candle, and it was really more so like the sweet apple filling. Like almost like there was I remember there being a golden nectar note or like fragrance accord, it listed in the fragrance notes. And I said, that's what it is, because it was just too sweet for my nose. And then 2 more fragrances. Both of these were actually these last 3 fragrances that I'm talking about were all sent to me from HOMEWORX. So that's just to let you guys know that sometimes we get sent PR and we don't have to say glowing things about them, because if I don't like a candle, I'm going to tell you I don't like a candle. So another fragrance was Patchouli Teakwood. Now this, I will applaud HOMEWORX for trying to go a little bit outside of the proverbial box, I would say. This one was a little bit more conceptual. I thought that I might like it because I do tend to like a cedarwood note, and I do remember that there was a cedarwood note listed in the accords of that. However, the patchouli note in there was just a little bit too strong. I like patchouli in some of my perfumes, but I noticed that I don't really care for it in a lot of home fragrance. It was too much for me. It was not a fragrance that I found I could combine or complement with a lot of other candles in my collection, and so out it went. And then the last fragrance that was sent to me, and I didn't even show it at any point here on my channel, is because I had it a couple of years ago, and I remembered thinking, I don't really like that candle. And then they sent it to me again this year, and I thought, okay, maybe I'll give it a try. But then on cold sniff, I was like, I don't really care for this one, but I have a friend, excuse me, got a frog in my throat. That sounds weird. Okay, let's try that again. I have a friend who, when I smelled that fragrance, I thought she will like this scent, because the fragrance notes, like, I just tend to know like what fragrances my friends like, and sure enough, she does enjoy the candle. But it is one that has been around HOMEWORX for a while. It's a holiday fragrance. It is Trim the Tree. Again, there's a boozy note to it. It definitely smells, it's a little bit more like apple heavy with, yeah, it's boozy, it's heavy, it's not really a tree fragrance per se, but I don't really care for apple fragrances for the winter time. Sorry, I broke out into a coughing fit, all of the dry air. I was sick like a month ago, and I'm still finding myself dealing with a little bit of post-nasal drip, so I apologize for that. But that was it for my HOMEWORX fragrances that just didn't work out for me. And then finally, I have my candles from Kringle Candle that just, some of them are just definitely not going to be repurchases. Some of them are just like, they weren't really for me. So let's see. The good news is most of the fragrances from the spring and summer collection did work out for me. Quite a few of these that I am listing here are either from the reserve lineup or they've been around for a while, and just a couple of these are some new releases. So I'm gonna go ahead and start out with a fragrance that was a reserve candle that was released, I want to say back in the springtime, and it was Dark as Night. It's very perfumey. It's just not a fragrance for me. I had heard some reviews on it and I took a chance and ordered it. but I kind of regretted it when it came in. It's not a bad fragrance, but it's just very perfumey and heavy. Again, I like a good perfume on my body, but not really so much in my home. However, there is a Kringle candle that is a replica, like it's supposed to emulate a very popular perfume that did make it into my favorites list, if I'm just giving you a little sneak peek there. So I'm not opposed to perfumey fragrances. I think it just depends on what perfume they remind me of, but the Darkest Night was just a little bit too heavy for me. Another fragrance, again, going back to reminding me of body care, that was sent to me was Spellbound. Now that smells very similar to Victoria's Secret Love Spell. So if you really like that fragrance in the body care and you want your home to smell like that fragrance, then I would suggest that candle to you. But it just, again, is not a fragrance for me. Blackberry Buttercream was another candle that I had heard a lot of people raving about. I believe that it has been discontinued. I'm not sure if it has, but it was just one that, like, it wasn't necessarily like a horrible, like, ugh, I can't stand the fragrance of this, but it was just boring. I guess that's the best way that I could describe it. It was a boring fragrance. There was I paired it with a lot of like my berry cobbler type of fragrances towards the end of summer, but it just wasn't anything to really write home about. And so I honestly probably could have left it off of this list, because it's not necessarily that I didn't like it. It's just a candle that I'm glad I didn't purchase backups of. And I don't know, I was just kind of like, we can move this on to somebody else. All right, the rest of these candles, I think, were all part of either fall or Halloween or holiday lineups. So a candle that I actually received as a, did I get it as a gift with purchase? I think it came in one of my orders. I know that I didn't order it on my own, is Autumn Road. And I know, again, a lot of people really like that fragrance. I like a lot of masculine fragrances, or like traditionally masculine fragrances, but Autumn Road just was not really for me. It just, this fall was the year that I kind of branched out and tried some new things. But I think by that point I was done. I was done trying new things, and I smelled it on cold and just knew that like that was not going to be a fragrance for me. So that one made its way to another home. From the Reserve lineup, Pumpkin Buns, which this one kind of, it's still sitting in my closet. I have not lit it. I don't know what to think of it, you guys, because I don't really care for it on cold sniff. There's something, I feel like I have smelled that fragrance before. It smells very sweet, but also salty at the same time. I don't know. I might light it up next fall, but again, I think it was just my attitude at that point. I'm gonna tell you why here in just a few minutes, because there were a couple of fall fragrances that I don't want to say I feel like I got burned by, but yeah, I tried some new things and I was like, yeah, this is just not who I am. And so I think by the time that I had received that Pumpkin Buns, I was like, no, I just want to go back to the fragrances that I really, really know that I enjoy for this time of year. And so Pumpkin Buns is one that, to just be honest with you guys, I don't really care for it on cold sniff. The more I smell it, the more that I'm kind of like, yeah, I really don't care for this. But I'm not going to completely rule it out, because my fragrance preferences might change in the next couple of months. All right. Here are, well, I'll give you the two like worst ones for me this year in just a minute, but one more here. Gourdgeous. That's a candle that I know a lot of people really like. I know my friend Drew is probably like, I love that candle, how dare you? But that again was another one that just, it smelled kind of funky to me upon burn, which is weird because I liked it in the daylight. But when it was burning in my room, I didn't really care for it. So that one found another home. And then two holiday fragrances. One was a new one, and thankfully I only got one of these fragrances in the daylight. It was White Chocolate Cheesecake. Again, it's another fragrance. I think it's just the combination of the white chocolate with the cheesecake accord. Just not really my thing, and I'm glad that I did get that in a daylight, because I did initially like it on cold sniff and I thought about ordering it in a large jar, but then when I burned it in the daylight format, I was like, yeah, I don't think I really like this one when the wax pool gets warm. And then here's a beloved holiday fragrance that I know a lot of people really, really love this. And I think that this is just more my own personal taste. Blue Spruce is a candle that I went ahead and shared with a friend. I went ahead and moved it along to a friend. You saw me haul it in my Kringle candle haul. I know a lot of people talk about how much they love that fragrance. And I think really what it comes down to for me is that of all of the tree notes, I don't really care for spruce or evergreen fragrances. They come off a little bit, like evergreen comes off a little bit too astringent to my nose. And spruce, again, going back to it can come off a little bit cat urine. Like to me, I don't really care for it in a lot of holiday candles. Now that's not to say, clearly a lot of people love spruce fragrances, but for me, I don't know, there's something about it that I don't really care for that fragrance. All right, now here we go with the two candles that were, I smelled them and I was like, oh my word, this was a mistake. All right, the first fragrance, which really surprised me that I just could not get behind, was the Reserve Line Red Maple. Now, if you guys caught that video where I was talking about the new, that was when Kringle had released that new Reserve lineup, their fall Reserve lineup. I loved Great Pumpkin. Pumpkin Buns, I was kind of on the fence about. And this one, I was like, I flat out do not like this fragrance. I could not even bring myself to light it up because it smelled, like my husband said, it smelled like decaying leaves. That's what he said it smelled like. And I was like, yes, that is exactly what it smells like to me. I couldn't get beyond it. However, I gifted that to one of my good friends and she loved it. She loved that fragrance. So again, it's just all a matter of personal preference. And the reason why I think I was just like, I am not even going to light up this candle was because there were some notes in there that reminded me of probably when I look at this entire list, Kringle, Bath & Body Works, HOMEWORX, there were some notes in that red maple that gave me the same vibe as the one candle I am going to list as like the ultimate yuck factor candle. Oh my word, I started burning it and again was regretting that I couldn't open up my windows. It was Black Cats and Bats. It was from their Halloween collection. It was in a 3-wick. No, I couldn't. It almost reminded me of like a cat litter box. I swear that when I smelled it, I was like Black Cats and Bats. Yeah, it reminds me of a litter box. I could not get behind that fragrance and that one quickly went into the donate pile. I couldn't even bring myself to offer it to any of my friends. I was like, no, I couldn't deal with that. So I'm sorry, Kringle, but you know that I love your brand. And in fact, when I get around to doing my favorite candles from the year, Kringle actually ended up having the most fragrances of candles that I liked. So this is not a like me heaping a pile onto Kringle. This is just me sharing my personal experience. To be honest with you, I think the one thing that I really learned this year in home fragrance was that the Halloween fragrances, like the conceptual Halloween fragrances, are really not my cup of tea. I do have Sleepy Hollow still, and I have, what's the other one? Scarecrow. Neither one of them would be repurchases. I will burn them, this next fall coming up because they are still in my collection, but they are not. I just learned that the Halloween fragrances are really not for me. There was one candle in the Halloween lineup. It was a 3-wick that will be making its way into my favorite candles, but that was more of a traditional fall fragrance in my opinion than it was a conceptual Halloween fragrance. So I feel like that was the one big thing that I learned this year about myself in home fragrance was that I don't really care for Halloween fragrances. So I hope you found this video entertaining because that's really all that it is meant to be. It is not meant to influence you to throw out any candles in your collection that you currently love. It is just sharing my opinion about it. I will have all of these candles listed down below in case, well, if they are available. I know some of these are not currently available, but if any of them are available still, I will have them listed down below. So then that way you can go ahead and head to the respective websites and check out their fragrance notes because maybe you might read the fragrance notes and say, say, she may not have liked that, but that sounds right up my alley. I do have discount codes with Kringle and HOMEWORX. Katie15 saves you 15% off of your order at Kringle. It's not always able to be used in combination with a lot of good sales, but you can always try plugging it in. And then Katie's Joyful Life will save you 15% off over at Slatkin & Co., which is the home of HOMEWORX. You do have to make a minimum purchase of at least $40, but the codes have been able to be used with a lot of recent sales. So that is it. Let me know in the comment box down below, maybe if there is one candle that comes to mind for you that was just like, oh no, I cannot do this. Let us know in the comment box down below. Again, this is just a fun little way for us to make an exit out of 2023. I know that this year for me there were some good things that happened to me, but to be honest with you, the last 6 months have been extremely trying for me. If you're new to my channel, my father very unexpectedly passed away in July, and I would say that that was just like the proverbial nail in the coffin of just making it, I don't want to say a bad year. I feel like any year that I'm drawing breath, that's a good thing, but it just added some sorrow and difficulty to the end of this year, and there's still a lot of joy and levity, but I have to say that I'm looking forward to 2024. There are some exciting things coming up for me next year, and I'm excited to look forward to them. So, all right, my friends, I want to say thank you so very much for spending some time here with me today. Please hit the thumbs up button if you enjoyed this video. I hope that you guys are enjoying your holiday season, whether you are celebrating Christmas or if you just celebrated Hanukkah, or maybe you celebrate something else. I just wish you the brightest and best blessings during this time of year and as we get ready to head into the new year. Thank you so much for spending time with me. And until my next one, I hope you all go out and have a very blessed day. Bye.